Hi, welcome to my YouTube. Thanks for checking out my video. I just wanted to make a really quick post, I guess, about my boot camp journey. So right now I am enrolled in New Camp, which is a boot camp. I just completed the fundamentals one about 2 weeks ago, and I started the full stack one this past Monday. This weekend we have our first workshop for that. So I just figured I'd come on here and tell you all how the initial part went with the fundamentals, which wasn't necessary, but I needed it. So I'll tell you about that, and then I'll hopefully continue to post about this part and the journey behind it, and hopefully finding a career and placement and so forth. And I made a couple notes on my little handy dandy notebook here. So again, I'm enrolled in a boot camp called New Camp. I chose it, one, because it's online. Pretty much everything is online right now though. But when life was real before the pandemic, some boot camps would meet up in person. In fact, I think this one was set up to where you would meet in person on Saturdays only. Anyway, it's all online right now, and I like that. It's self-paced, so like during the week you are managing your workload yourself, reading, getting through the task, and then on Saturdays you meet with your team for 4 hours on Zoom. If you're anything like me, you are an introvert and you're like, I don't want to meet people, I'm not interested in the Zoom, can I just do it? I will say I start most of my Saturdays like, oh God, this is not going to be fun, but it ends up being pretty beneficial. Where you're like, when you're done with it, you're like, oh, I'm happy I did that, because you end up learning a bit more about the stuff that maybe you didn't gather during the week, and then you get to talk to people who probably feel exactly like you did. That was my experience in the first 4 weeks, the fundamental boot camp. I also chose it because it was very affordable. I was initially looking at Flatiron because one of the girls that I discovered on YouTube prior to really jumping into it, she was a big Flatiron advocate, and she loved it, and she was doing well, had gotten a job, and I was like, that's the route for me. I'll find the money and I'll do it. I started their online boot camp. It's not a boot camp, but it's like online stuff that you do before you actually apply to the school. I made it through that. After I interviewed, I found New Camp, and I was like, oh, this is significantly cheaper. So I went that route, especially because Flatiron and a lot of other code camps at that point had moved away from giving you your money back if you didn't find a job. And so initially I was like, oh, okay, great. If you can guarantee me a job, I will give you all this amount of money. But once they took that away, citing, they told, the lady that I talked to said that they took it away because their program, I think she said that she didn't feel like they needed it anymore because people were doing so well with it, like in terms of finding a job. And that didn't sit well with me. I'm sure it's true. I'm very sure it's a great boot camp because you get a lot of people up there, but I wanted to spend less money, especially since I'm a very fickle person anyway, but we'll talk about that some other time. In any event, I chose it based on it being online and the price. And I'm happy I did. The fundamental part was pretty great. I liked it. again, the structure is you pace yourself during the week, and then Saturdays you have your workshop with your team, your cohort. You all work on a project, not together. You work on your individual project, but together, and then you submit it. It was based on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and just sort of learning the basics of that. I knew very little, if I'm being honest. I had done the Flatiron one. I had did Code Academy, free code boot camp several years ago, and none of it stuck. I did not retain it. I will say that the structure of this really helped me to learn the information and retain it, but it's still one of those things where you have to practice to really feel confident in it. And I still have a lot of practice to go. After I finished the fundamental boot camp and I got my certification, I still went in and redid some of the projects because I was like, I really want to get this in before the other boot camp starts, because I don't want to struggle in that. So that was just what I did. What do I use? I wrote down as a note to tell you. I use a very old ass MacBook Pro. I started off trying to learn with a HP Chromebook that my husband bought for me. For some reason, I couldn't get it to connect to a second monitor, so I decided to just use my MacBook Pro, which apparently is just better for coding anyway, so I just used that. It's literally, I think it was made in 2013, so it's old, but I used that. Works well. Had no issues with it for the boot camp. I bought a second monitor. I'll link it below. $100-something on Amazon. It gets the job done. I haven't figured out how to connect a third monitor, so I use the HP Chromebook to play the new camp videos while I'm coding on my MacBook. It's not necessary that I do that, but I just prefer to have that type of setup. I guess, I don't know if I know how to show you all a picture of everything once I'm done, but if I can figure out how to edit a video, I'll try to show you all a setup at some point. Time commitment. So much time is needed for this, which I think I was not expecting, but I should have known. You need a good 2 to 4 hours a day. I don't know how it's going to be for this second part that I'm going into, but I'm sure it's the same as the fundamental. That fundamental one, it was, I would say it was hardcore. Like I do have a full-time job. I work 9 to 6, so I was literally waking up around 5:30, drinking coffee, meditating for a couple minutes, and then logging on to do some work. And towards I think the last 2 weeks of the 4-week boot camp, I stopped meditating. And when I warmed up the coffee and I sat at my desk trying to figure stuff out. I also attempted to get a bit of extra work in on the weekends, before and or after the boot camp workshop, and on Sundays, but it's definitely a huge time commitment. I don't have a lot of stuff pulling me away except for my family. That's literally immediate family, husband and child, because I don't live near my actual friends or family, so I'm not pressed to go anyplace. But even still, with having a 4-year-old child and a husband and a home to take care of, as well as a job, it was a lot of how do you manage, and my job was going crazy. It was such a heavy workload at the time, and work stressed me out. So, but that's another story for a different day. So essentially, yes, you want to make sure that you manage your time. I communicated with my husband that, hey, I'm going to be doing this. I need all of your help that I can get. if I'm being honest, it just still wasn't enough. He tried, I tried. Essentially just have to make the time. But yeah, definitely again, lock that in, probably like 2 to 4 hour commitment. Like people who are not working and don't have a family are, I don't want to say they're blessed because we're blessed too, but good for them, because they just don't have that extra commitment. But they tell you in the course you're going to need a support system, and you want to overly communicate with the people that might be pulling you away that you are working on something to better your future, and you'll have to do that. It's a lot of time. I would repeat that like 5 times if I could. So the next thing I guess I wanted to do was, this video is kind of for me, mostly for me maybe, document my journey. Right now I am working in insurance. I've worked in the insurance industry for 6 or 7 years at this point, doing different things, sales, adjusting, and I don't think it's the thing that I'm going to be doing the rest of my life. And I am learning this to hopefully move into something that I find more fulfilling, even if it's with the same company, because actually the company that I'm with, I really love them, but I wouldn't mind going someplace else. We're all in this for money, whether it's your top priority or lower priority. So definitely income. I want the ability to work remotely and just have the benefits of extra vacation time. And I know that's not going to be every company, but hopefully God sees it in my future that I have time freedom. So hopefully this is locking that in. And I do want to use the new skills, new knowledge to hopefully kickstart some type of business or freelancing something, extra income. So I hope there are some other newbies out there that are starting this journey and that we can communicate and do this together. I look forward to hopefully talking with you all, venting with you all, connecting, growing, and journeying with you. So happy coding. Bye.